The more accomplished a woman is, the more she brings to the table, the brighter she shines, the more the counter forces want to attack you and take advantage of you. They need to humble you. Think of it this way, in context of powergasm. The feeling of win is greater when the subject that they need to conquer is a tougher one. A woman who's independent or really successful in a power or leadership position is a greater satisfaction to powergasm, conquer, to exploit, than a woman who's already ready to submit. That's why women who have leadership positions or public figures, celebrities, they often get humbled in public by the people who they often thought of as their best friend, their husband, boyfriend, or at least a romantic partner of some sort, or even somebody who has much less power than them, like a subordinate or somebody that they hired. There's a misconception with women who are wanting more power and privilege and are ambitious, they're fighting for their goals, the goal-getters. They tend to be independent women. Maybe you are one of those people, and I certainly put myself in that category. There is a myth and a misconception that once you gain the power and privilege that you have arrived. There is no such thing. The bad bitch journey continues, because now it's about maintenance and growing further in a world where misogyny is the default human condition. If you haven't yet read Millionaire Single Mom, which has been published already, this is my first fiction work. It covers all of these areas in the story, the powergasm, a disempowered woman to a powerful woman, the hero's journey, and all the pitfalls for a woman to not only remain in power, but to grow beyond that. And also, how do you deal with a world that functions based on misogyny? In fact, oppression and misogyny fuel the world that we live in to continue on, to be functional in the most dysfunctional sense. We have plenty of cases. You look at celebrity women being cheated on. The most gorgeous women who are accomplished, talented, they get cheated on, and they get cheated on by a crusty ass dude who's not her level, a beta of the beta, someone who we would even qualify as incels. What was she even doing with him? Maybe she was settling because she thought that a guy who is at her caliber will be more dangerous. Maybe he has a lot more power to powergasm her. He has more resources, more network. But the part that women don't take into account is how much a guy who has not much going for himself can also powergasm and conquer her, and the world around him will see him as the hero or the stud or somebody who now has earned the power and the privilege by destroying the woman in power. Recently, many of you are talking about this influencer lady, Wizard Liz. I actually didn't know who she was. I'm not on that side of TikTok at all, but many of you were talking about her and how her husband, or at least her long-term partner, cheated on her when she is 4 months pregnant. And the way this progressed was that he had done all of these actions to show her that he was the right person, that she had made a good decision, and her whole branding was built around women knowing their worth and making good decisions when it comes to men. Her whole branding, from my understanding of what I've seen, I've not really watched her videos, I have to admit, her videos were to do with teaching women how to know their value and how to never settle when it comes to romantic relationships. Now, many of you were saying that you didn't see this coming. She maybe didn't see this coming, but to me it seems very, very obvious that her greatest vulnerability, the easiest way to humiliate her and put her in her place, to powergasm her, is to take the whole concept or the ideologies of what her business was built on, debunk that, at the same time demote her completely from being somebody who is capable of following her own advice. That would be the most powerful way to destroy her. And of course, the person who has the power to do that is nobody else but her own partner. The man knew that he had this power privilege the whole time. And you gotta set up the scene, right? You gotta really build up the person to make them believe that she had made a really good choice, that he was the right person. gift her hundreds of roses, like 700 something roses, someone wrote. Now, I didn't go and watch her videos, okay? Because it's not an unusual case for me to have to investigate. It's just cookie cutter blueprint type of scenario. He promised the world, wrote a whole book about her or something like that. These are the things I've seen. If I'm wrong, please put it down in the comments, let me know. And of course, she used it as material to propel her business, her branding, to expand and show her audience, millions of followers, that this is how you do it. You gotta follow my advice because this is the result that you get. This is the kind of man that you end up with, which to her followers, it proves as point that in this world, in this patriarchal, misogynistically fueled world, that there's a chance for them, that hope. She gave them hope. Their relationship gave her followers hope that this was something real. Imagine the amount of power this man held in his hands, because now he can take all of that hope, not only his partner, the influencer, who's using him as proof that she is somebody who makes good decisions, right? That she's someone who knows how to know her worth and choose well for herself, right? So her proof of concept is herself, and her followers who are also seeing that. Imagine the power this man has. All these women have centered this man, has given this man power. All of these people. So the influencer, her followers, millions and millions. Imagine the powergasm that he's riding on. How can you separate that power position with just plain trust and love between two people, him and his partner? You can't. You can't. He knows the advantages that he has. All he has to do is flip the switch now. And so he did. Whether it was intentional or not, I'm going to say it's intentional, because someone who understands their privilege and power, they use it. It's intentional. Waiting until the baby is no longer able to be aborted, from embryo to fetus, right? 4 months. I've been pregnant twice, right? Any woman who's gone through the process knows how difficult it is to get pregnant. And there's always a threshold. Okay, I guess this is forever now, right? Like, you have committed to this pathway of being a mother, especially as her first child. Waiting till then to cheat on her, not only to destroy her, humiliate her, but this is a humiliation and a fuck you to all women who believed in this rhetoric, who were feeling hope in their experiences, their hard experiences with dating, with men. They were getting hope from this couple. All of that completely destroyed. It doesn't matter how much your favorite influencer or expert is telling you to know your value, know your worth when it comes to dating game. The dating industry itself is a total sham, because as soon as you pin your life result, your success as a woman, on having a good man or a man in general, that already disempowers you, because you are male-centering. As long as you're male-centering, you will not know your worth as a woman, because men already have so much power and privilege in the world that we live in. It doesn't matter that this influencer was talking about knowing your worth and choosing right. All of it sounds very female-centering and empowering, until you look at the conditions of the society that we live in and how much that rhetoric itself, the words are very important. Your words are casting spells every day. When those are the words that you focus on, that you preach, that you listen to, then that creates disempowerment within yourself. Heterosexual relationship already starts off with women having less power than men. That's true even if you're richer than him, even if you come from upper class and he doesn't, even if you have more fame and whatever other privilege you have, such as racial privilege. As a woman, you are less than a man in this world, in this society. I know all of you know that, but you have a hard time understanding how that fits into the life decisions that you make, the types of advice that you listen to. As soon as you have this deep need and desire for a heterosexual relationship and you're following all these influencers who are preaching the same, this includes anti-patriarchy married women, okay? Married women who are anti-patriarchy, that's their whole branding, but then they themselves are married and they're using their man as a proof of concept that there are good men that exist only if you knew how to make good decisions. Those women are male-centering. Women who are teaching you to go out there and find a better man to up-level, all those women are male-centering. Now imagine how much power those men have, because the power is in their hands to either make you feel fulfilled, privileged, powerful, taken care of. All of that is in their hands. Male-centering gives men power. Talking about men needing a relationship with a man, all of that gives men power, period. And men know that. If you already have power and privilege, you already know what assets you have and what you can work with and how you can easily destroy somebody who's in a lesser power position. It's very easy when you're higher up in the hierarchy. Marriage and dating centering experts and influencers are male centering. It doesn't matter if they're male, female, whatever gender. As long as they're talking about dating, marriage, relationships for women to find the right person, you finding the one, you finding and choosing the right person, all of that is highly male-centering content. Women who talk about the patriarchy being a problem, but they themselves are married and say, look, I make good choices. You didn't learn how to do it. Follow me, pay me money. That's all male-centering content. You have to understand this. The human condition is that you as a woman are already in lesser power privilege. People are not going to believe you. They're going to be satisfied when you are destroyed. This is a good show for them to watch. Whereas they never want men to experience the pain. They think it's normal for women to experience pain. In fact, encourage because it satisfies something in them. This is what we call, I don't know if I would call it human nature per se, but it is the current human nature. Our human nature develops because we have to survive in the condition that we live in, and that is capitalism, patriarchy, and racism. Classism, misogyny, and racist hierarchy, which also racism is tied to class. This is why you see the same picture over and over again. A woman can't be better than better. She can't be beyond perfect, but she'll still have a hard time in the dating game. She will have a really hard time. She can be so pretty, so talented, so accomplished, but dating will still be very difficult for her when she's heterosexual, when she's seeking a male partner. Whereas a man he could have nothing. He could bring nothing to the table. He could be crusty, dirty, have skid marks all over their underwear, but he will have some woman who wants him. Also, he could be divorced. He could be accused of really bad activities in the past, something criminal, violence, DV, all of that. He could be an alcoholic, but some woman will want another woman's leftover. He could be a bad dad, divorce, all that. Some woman will want that leftover. A man could be in a horrible condition, like geriatric, and can't look after himself. Someone needs to change his diaper, but then he will somehow manage to find a woman. That's the society that we live in. The world is already male-centering. Now, when it comes to the male perspective, getting a female partner, if he feels like he's been oppressed, even with the male privilege, and he has a serious chip on his shoulder, that's how incels develop. But this is also why we see these kinds of underwhelming type of males will go and cheat on an accomplished woman, especially if she has a public profile, she's very talented. Think Cardi B or every other celebrity, like allegedly Beyonce, allegedly Mariah Carey. Look at all these amazing, beautiful, talented women. Think about the male companion for these women. They're usually not attractive, or they're not to her caliber in terms of success. They need to humble her because in that relationship, they need to have the upper hand. And if she's so great and so big, everyone loves her, they need to humiliate her so they can have the upper hand. And if she doesn't submit and make herself small, destroy herself, then he's gonna just go find another one who's gonna do that for him, who's gonna constantly feed his need for powergasm, his ego boost, his feeling of winning and conquering. But before he does that, he needs to feel the high of having been able to conquer a woman who's high profile, who's wealthy, successful, loved by a lot of people, very influential, because that becomes his reputation under his belt. Imagine you having wars, right? Let's say that we have a lot of nations in war, and a tiny underdog country conquers a big, powerful country. Okay? You don't think of relationship or wars, but these are all power games. Relationships are all power and privilege based. Okay? We seek more power and privilege through relationship, even if you think that you don't. You do. Imagine if an underwhelming country, okay, we're all at war, right, in relationship. Everything is transactional, it's capitalism. And an underwhelming country conquers a powerful one. The reputation soars. That becomes the reputation. In dating, he first gains reputation by being in her proximity. But quickly, he needs to be the one with upper hand, because he will not stay in a position where he's only powerful because of her. Now, if she's using him as the reason why she is successful, like this is part of her business or something like that, like, look, I have proof that what I'm preaching is effective and y'all need to learn how to do this, right? That gives him all the power. In another scenario, like a celebrity who's being cheated on, he needs to humble her so that he has the upper hand in the relationship, because being in proximity to her power is no longer enough. That cloud has to get him in the door, through the door, and now he has to conquer and be the main character. Imagine the difference of powergasm here. If this man were to choose a woman who was submissive, who didn't have a lot of success or not much to bring to the table, didn't have a lot of influence, small life type of woman, the level of powergasm wouldn't have been as powerful. Like, he is above her privilege and power. Just the maleness makes him above her. As a woman, you have to understand different levels of privilege, capitalism, patriarchy, and racism, and what that really means for you and how people perceive you. And the pitfalls are waiting for you. If you don't, then you can be at your peak, and that can turn into your greatest nightmare. This is the reason why every woman must train in power dynamics, how to read character. Many of you already think you know how to read people, but the fact is that you've always had an oppressed perspective because you are a woman, especially more so if you're a woman of color, especially even more so if you came from a family with generational struggle. That's why social elegance training is a must for any one of you who wants success and want to build a long-term legacy. Go to the description down below to get started and let me know your thoughts.